The film opens not with fanfare, but with the rasp of a diesel engine struggling to wake on a misty morning in the Auvergne. No sleek Italian curves, no chrome American glamour, just a grey corrugated box on wheels, the Citroën Type H. Lovingly dubbed the pig nose or the salad basket, it became the backbone of post-war France, delivering bread, policing streets, and hauling goods. Ugly? Yes. Legendary? Absolutely. This is the story of a van that chose utility over beauty and became immortal. The year is 1947, and Europe is a landscape of both scars and hope. In France, the Plan Pons has been enacted, a strict government mandate designed to jumpstart the economy by controlling what each car manufacturer is allowed to build. Steel and rubber are more precious than gold, and for the small business owners, the bakers, and the farmers who are the heartbeat of the French economy, the pre-war trucks are no longer enough. They are too heavy, too high, and too thirsty for a nation that needs to rebuild on a budget. The people don't need a luxury. They need a tool that is as efficient as a Swiss watch and as rugged as a mountain goat. Enter Pierre Boulanger and his team at Citroën. Already deep into the development of the 2CV, they recognize that the commercial sector requires something more substantial. The design brief is deceptively simple but technically agonizing. Create a vehicle that can carry 1,200 kilograms of cargo, feature a completely flat floor for easy loading, and be affordable enough for a village tradesman. At a time when most vans are simply passenger car frames with a heavy wooden or steel box bolted onto the back, Citroën decides to throw away the rulebook. They realize that to move forward, they have to rethink the very anatomy of the commercial vehicle from the ground up. The result is a radical departure from everything that came before. While other manufacturers are focused on curves and aesthetics, the Type H is a masterclass in brutalist efficiency. It is designed from the inside out. By placing the engine and the gearbox entirely in front of the driver, a rare front-wheel drive layout for the time, they create a cavernous, low-slung cargo area that sits just 35 centimeters off the ground. It is a revolution of ergonomics. For the first time, a delivery driver doesn't have to climb a ladder to reach his goods. He simply steps inside. This wasn't just a van, it was the foundation upon which the modern white van industry would eventually be built. The most striking feature of the Type H is, of course, its skin. To the untrained eye, it looks like a shipping container on wheels, but the corrugated steel was a stroke of structural genius. Borrowing a technique from the aviation industry, most notably the Junkers Ju-52 aircraft, Citroën's engineers realized that folding the metal into ridges provided immense rigidity without the need for a heavy internal frame. This corrugated approach allowed the van to be incredibly light, yet capable of carrying a full ton of cargo. In a post-war era where every kilogram of steel was rationed, this wasn't an aesthetic choice. It was a mathematical triumph of strength-to-weight ratio. Beneath that ribbed exterior lay a mechanical layout that was decades ahead of its time. While its competitors in Britain and Germany were still stuck with rear-wheel drive and high, cumbersome propeller shafts, the Type H was a front-mid engine marvel. By mounting the engine, gearbox, and front-wheel drive assembly as a single, compact unit at the very front, Citroën liberated the entire rear of the vehicle. This meant the floor could be perfectly flat and incredibly low. It was a monocoque design, a single, unified body and chassis which made the vehicle remarkably stable despite its high roofline and boxy proportions. The suspension was equally unconventional for a commercial workhorse, using independent torsion bars on all four wheels. However, this engineering came with a unique quirk. To accommodate the torsion bars, the wheelbase was actually different on the left and right sides of the van. If you look closely, one rear wheel sits slightly further forward than the other. It was a compromise of pure function over form, a reminder that in the world of the Type H, the tape measure always yielded to the cargo. Finally, there was the pig nose itself. The engine sat directly between the driver and the passenger, covered by a simple internal cowl. While this made the cabin a deafening environment at cruising speeds, it offered unparalleled accessibility. A driver could practically rebuild the carburetor from the comfort of his seat while sheltered from the rain. It was a vehicle designed for the man who fixed his own tools, a machine that prioritized the mechanic as much as the merchant. In every rivet and every fold of its steel, the Type H shouted its mission. It was built to work, built to last, and built to be understood by anyone with a wrench and a dream of a better future. For the generations who lived through the 30 glorious years of European growth, the Type H was more than a vehicle, it was a constant, familiar neighbor. It was the first thing you heard in the morning, the low-frequency rumble of the baker's van echoing off stone walls as fresh baguettes were delivered before sunrise. In every village square across France, Belgium, and the Netherlands, the Type H was the theatre of daily life. Its massive side-opening hatch didn't just provide access to cargo, it acted as a shop window, a counter, and a shelter from the rain. Whether it was selling lace, hardware, or the morning catch, the Type H was the market king. Perhaps its most famous or infamous role was as the panier à salade, the salad basket. This was the nickname given to the version used by the French gendarmerie and police. The name came from the van's corrugated metal sides and the wire mesh often placed over the windows, which resembled the baskets used to shake water off lettuce. To see a grey or blue Type H patrolling the boulevards of Paris was a sight that commanded instant respect, or a quick turn down a side street. It was the mobile headquarters of authority, as much a part of the urban landscape as the Eiffel Tower or the metro. But the beauty of the Type H lay in its democratic nature. Because of its modular front end, Citroën could sell just the cabin and nose, allowing specialized coach builders to turn the rear into whatever the customer imagined. It became a high-roofed ambulance, a double-decker horsebox, a refrigerated meat truck, and even a luxury camper for the first wave of post-war holidaymakers. It was a blank canvas of corrugated steel. It didn't matter if you were a high-ranking official or a humble lavender farmer. The Type H was the reliable partner that never asked for more than a bit of oil and a steady hand on the wheel. As the 1960s rolled into the 70s, the Type H began to symbolize a specific kind of European pastoralism. It was the vehicle of the Tour de France, carrying film crews and support teams up the steepest peaks of the Pyrenees. It was slow, rarely exceeding 90 kilometers per hour, but it was relentless. It mirrored the pace of the era, a time before high-speed rail and instant deliveries, when the arrival of the van was an event that brought the community together. It was the sound of progress, delivered at a human speed. By the late 1970s, the world that had birthed the Type H was changing. The cobblestone streets were being paved with smooth tarmac, and the slow, rhythmic pace of village life was accelerating into the era of the high-speed autoroute. For all its genius, the Type H was a prisoner of its own era. Its aerodynamics were roughly equivalent to a brick, and its 1-pound 9-litre engine struggled to keep pace with the modern traffic of the 1980s. In December 1981, after 34 years and 473,289 units, the last Type H rolled off the assembly line at the Javel plant. It was replaced by the Citroën C25, a modern front-wheel drive van that was safer, faster, and utterly, heartbreakingly anonymous. Then came the rust years. For the next 2 decades, the Type H became a ghost of the European countryside. No longer the pride of the fleet, they were relegated to the back of farm sheds or left to sink into the mud of orchards. Because they were built from thin, corrugated steel, they were particularly vulnerable to the red rot of oxidation. To the modern eyes of the 1990s, an old Type H wasn't a classic. It was an eyesore, a relic of a primitive time before air conditioning and power steering. Thousands were sent to the scrap heap, crushed into cubes of recycled metal, their stories seemingly erased by the march of progress. While the modern vans of the 1980s were quietly forgotten, a small band of enthusiasts began rescuing the old pig nose from fields and farm sheds. What was once mocked as ugly, the rivets, the ridges, the blunt nose, was suddenly admired as industrial art. The van that had rusted into obscurity returned as an icon. Today, from meticulous restorations to stylish food trucks, the Type H proves a simple truth: real utility never goes out of fashion.